And so, Dan Finelli, you get to pose this question. Should we stay in Afghanistan? Can we win? And what would victory there look like to the candidate of your choice?
All right, Ross, what you got?
You know, we have a proud military. We have a history of protecting the world. But I go back to say this. As a country, we are bankrupt. We are losing good men in far places. I think right now to protect Pakistan and their structured nuclear weapons more so than to protect the United States here. There's a madness here. We don't control our southern borders, our northern borders, but we want to protect ourselves in fighting over in Afghanistan. Real quick, when I was in high school, my vice principal, when I was a senior, he and his wife were on the first flight to hit the towers, flight number 11. So if anybody up here has a reason to say, yeah, let's give them hell, stay as long as you have to. I don't want to see good men and women die in far places anymore. I want to see them raise their children, come home to mom and dad, and rebuild our country, because that's important to our country.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ross Beeling. Now, my next question is for you, and it is in the foreign affairs realm. It is not at all beyond the realm of possibility that should one of you wind up in Congress and be sworn in January, that you will be dealing with the issue of Iran and possibly military action. So let me ask you, Ross Beeling, are there any circumstances in which you would support taking U.S. military action against Iran, and if so, what are they?
I think we should. I think we've come to the point now where, I forget the number, I think 6,000 centrifuges. They are months away from nuclear weapons, and we're not even sure about that. I think we need to sit down with our allies from China to Russia and the Middle Eastern allies that we do have and make them understand it's unacceptable to have Iran with a nuclear weapon. It will turn that entire region into a nuclear race, the likes we haven't seen, as if there were weeds in your garden. And we can't allow those kind of weapons to get in third-party hands when we're not even willing to control our own borders. It's absolute madness. And the way we do it is we have got to, I'm sure we have the technology to address that right now. I know Kurt's spoken on this, and I do share your views. It's a hard thing to say. But we do know that this is radical Muslims. They hate us. I think we give them a timetable and let them know that we mean business for the good of humanity. And real simple, tell them here's the date, here's the time. Get everybody out of there, because we're not looking to kill anybody except to destroy the facilities that you can bring absolute madness and harm and devastation on our country and other countries such as Israel. So I stand firm on that, and we say prayers, it never has to happen, but I think we're getting close to it.
Now your opportunity to identify the candidate of your choice to answer the same question. Are there any circumstances under which they would support us taking military action against Iran, and if so, what are they?
I'd be honored. Kurt, please.
Thank you, Ross. Ahmadinejad is a clear and present danger to the United States of America. He has clearly said this, that if he gets nuclear weapons, and they are trying to, in fact, the best, he's saying right now they're trying to get energy-grade nuclear right now. But they say within 5 years he will have nuclear-grade weapons and a delivery system in which they can deliver the nuclear weapons. They have already made the promise that they will wipe Israel off the face of the map, and they will kill the great Satan. Ladies and gentlemen, this smacks of what we learned from history. You remember Neville Chamberlain takes the piece of paper and says, "Peace in our time, peace in our time," and within a few short months they were being bombed and their people were dying. Are we going to wait for this? Absolutely not. I believe that it is imperative that we have a plan in place that once they get nuclear grade, once they've got enriched uranium to its nuclear grade, we take unilateral action immediately.
Thank you. But let's look ahead to the fall campaign. Incumbents in Congress are notoriously hard to beat, And frankly, I expect Alan Grayson, as much as you hate to hear this, will be no exception. Can you convince us tonight that you are tough enough to stand up to Grayson, and what will be your strategy for defeating him?
Well, I appreciate that question. I will not allow, in any circumstance, to allow Alan Grayson to set the stage for the debate or the discussion or anything else in this district. He's not going to determine how this race is going to be run. I'm going to determine how the race is going to be run. That's exactly, you know, they call him Goliath. A lot of the congressmen call him Goliath. You know how Goliath was felled? He wasn't felled with a sword. He was felled with a rock, and it was hit in the right spot, his weakness. And that's what I intend to do, to go after his weakness. You know what his weakness is? His record. He's responsible for all this borrowing. He's responsible for the deficit. He's responsible for the health care bill that's going to not only kill babies, but it's also going to bankrupt our country. He's responsible for these things, and he's going to have to stand on his record, and he has no record to stand on. He is on sinking sand, and he's going to sink right down into that sand. That is his weakness. I will exploit that weakness. I know that he doesn't represent this district. Do you think he represents this district? And I believe the people in this district are going to respond to a message that says, let's have less government, lower taxes, more individual freedom, more personal responsibility, and empowering the traditional family. Those are the principles that I expect to carry to Washington, and I expect to implement in Washington. And I expect to use them against him in this campaign, because he's not for any of them. To me, the race is about this. Are you going to stand for what's right? Are you going to represent the people of this district? Or are you going to continue the policies that are going to drive this country into the ground? I believe that the issues themselves will be the key to beating Alan Grayson.
I'll bet you all of your 6 primary opponents are salivating at the thought of being able to field this question. Select one and ask them whether they can convince us that they are tough enough to stand up to the bullying of Alan Grayson and their strategy for beating him in the fall.
Okay, I'll pick Bruce.
Thank you, Dan. Well, I agree with Dan, and that is that you run against his record. And here's how Bruce O'Donoghue wins. And that is that over 1,000 people in our district have contributed to elect Bruce O'Donoghue to Congress, over 1,000. And we've outraised everybody in this campaign. And here's the other catch. We've outraised Alan Grayson, who has raised $2 million in this. We've outraised him in his own home district. We win because we are from Central Florida, and this is our home, and we're going to take it back. And we run on the record of getting people back to work, reducing this deficit, lowering taxes, and getting people back to work. And we do it by those of us right here in Central Florida who have lived and worked and loved this community. And that's how we win.
Thank you, Bruce O'Donoghue.